All right, today we're tackling something huge. We're breaking down a massive military operation in early 2026 that didn't just start another conflict, it has completely redrawn the map of the entire Middle East, kicking off a dangerous new era of direct confrontation.
And look, that might sound dramatic, but it's not an exaggeration. The events we're about to walk through represent a true paradigm shift. They've shattered decades of strategic thinking and the very structure of power in one of the most critical regions on the planet.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the fragile situation just before the storm hit. Then we'll dive into the operation itself. After that, we'll explore the chaos erupting inside Iran, see how old friendships are breaking and new, shocking alliances are forming, and finally, we'll connect it all to the economic shockwave that's hitting every single one of us.
So, how in the world did we get here? You know, the period right before 2026 wasn't really peaceful at all. It was more like what analysts were calling an armed peace. Just a really, really tense standoff, waiting for a single spark to set the whole thing off.
The stage was really set by a few key dominoes falling. First, you had the shocking collapse of the long-ruling regime in Syria, which knocked a key Iranian ally right off the chessboard. That was followed by a short but incredibly brutal direct war between Israel and Iran. After that, things got quiet, but it was a tense quiet. The whole region was basically a powder keg.
And then, boom, that powder keg finally exploded. This operation didn't just raise the stakes, it was the end of an era. The days of fighting shadow wars through proxies were over, and a new age of open, state-on-state warfare had begun.
On February 27th, the US and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury. And here's the kicker. The goal wasn't just to hit a few military sites. This was a decapitation strike. It was a direct attempt at what experts call regime restructuring, aimed right at the heart and the head of the Iranian state.
I mean, just look at this target list. It tells you everything you need to know about how ambitious this was. They went after the entire central nervous system of the regime. You've got the headquarters of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that defends the capital. You have the Law Enforcement Command, which is basically the regime's iron fist for crushing dissent. They even hit the state propaganda machine and, critically, the fortified bunker of the supreme leader himself.
This right here, this is a massive shift in thinking. For years and years, the focus was all about containing Iran's nuclear program. This operation was about collapsing the regime itself, by literally taking out the brains and the muscle that allow it to command its forces and control its people.
Okay, so Iran didn't just sit back and take it. Their response was fast, it was brutal, and it was everywhere. This is their classic asymmetric strategy in action. They rained down ballistic missiles on Israel, sure, but they also widened the war, hitting the UAE with a massive drone and missile barrage, and going after U.S. bases across the Gulf. The goal was crystal clear: drag everyone into the fire and make this as painful as possible for America's allies. But you know, the biggest bombshell from Epic Fury wasn't a physical explosion. It was political. The operation reportedly succeeded in its main objective, killing Iran's top leader. And that created a power vacuum unlike anything the country has seen since its revolution.
Think about that for a second. For the first time since the Islamic Republic was founded, the guy at the very top is just gone, and there was no clear successor ready to take his place. This threw the entire country into absolute chaos, a desperate scramble for power that could tear the Iranian state apart from the inside.
So who could possibly take over? Let's look at the contenders, because wow, every single option is loaded with risk. First, you've got the late leader's son, Mojtaba, a serious hardliner. A hereditary succession would look a lot like a monarchy, the very thing the revolution was supposed to be against. Then there's the judiciary chief, who's deeply unpopular. You have a reformist in Hassan Khomeini, but he has no real power base in the military. He'd likely just be a puppet. And finally, you've got a pragmatist who seems unable to get anyone to agree on anything. It's a mess. And let's be clear, this isn't just Iran's problem. The potential fallout is terrifying for the whole world. We're talking about a military junta taking over, a full-blown civil war breaking out. And then there's the absolute nightmare scenario: the state collapsing and losing control over its nuclear materials or advanced missile tech. So with Iran in chaos, the rest of the region starts scrambling. The shockwaves are shattering old alliances and forcing countries to find new partners. The entire chessboard of the Middle East is being reset in real time.
And you can see this split perfectly right here between two countries that used to be super close allies, Saudi Arabia
and the UAE. Saudi Arabia is basically saying, whoa, let's calm everything down. We have this massive Vision 2030 economic plan we need to protect. But the UAE, they see chaos as an opportunity, backing local militias to seize control of ports and trade routes. Their goals are now in direct opposition.
So, the Saudis, clearly not feeling like they can count on the US for protection anymore, made an absolutely stunning move just a few months before all this went down. They signed a full-on mutual defense pact with a nuclear-armed Pakistan.
And then you get this quote, listen to this. It's from Pakistan's defense minister, and it confirms everyone's worst fears. Saudi Arabia is now officially under a borrowed nuclear umbrella. This just blows up decades of regional security policy and kicks off a terrifying new arms race.
Okay, so now let's bring this home, because this isn't just some faraway conflict. This regional firestorm has a direct line to the global economy, and yeah, that means your wallet.
Let's start with this number, 20%. That's how much of the entire planet's daily oil supply goes through this one little waterway, the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran is now basically blockaded in retaliation. It's like putting a clamp on the world's energy artery.
And what happens when you do that? Well, here's the potential price tag. If this blockade holds, oil prices could easily soar past $100 a barrel. That threatens to kickstart global inflation all over again, just when we all thought we were finally getting it under control.
But what makes this situation a total nightmare is that it's not just one problem. We now have two of the world's most critical shipping lanes under attack at the exact same time. While Iran is blocking the Strait of Hormuz, its allies, the Houthis, are firing on ships in the Red Sea. They're using military force to literally squeeze global trade from two sides at once. And the scale of this disruption? It's just mind-boggling. Forcing all those massive container ships to go the long way around Africa sucks up an incredible amount of global shipping capacity. This means huge delays and way higher costs for pretty much everything we buy.
So, the old order is gone. The so-called armed peace is a memory. The era of proxy wars is over. We've entered a new, much more unpredictable, and frankly, far more dangerous chapter. The old rules are gone, and the fight to write the new ones, it's only just getting started.